agenda today, as I had mentioned, we're going to go through your Haas Alumni Network online, adding @Cal. @Cal is our Haas Alumni Directory and UC Berkeley Alumni Directory. So we're going to go through that so you can see that as a resource. We'll talk about outreach and then polishing your profile. So the big thing that you were asking. All right. So this is what I'm going to talk about first, and I'm actually going to read something that Rebecca wrote because I think she described this beautifully. LinkedIn, so self-reported professional information is in LinkedIn combined with the outreach power of @Cal. So when you look at these systems, LinkedIn, this huge database, this huge directory that everybody's in, and then breaking it down into @Cal, which is our UC Berkeley and Haas alumni directory. I call these our peanut butter cup. So two great tastes that taste great together, two great systems that work great together. You're not going to get everything from both, but when you put them together, there's really great information that you can get so that you can network directly with people that you would like to connect with. So just real quick, LinkedIn, we're going to go through the LinkedIn groups, going to show you the groups that we have and kind of how to use them. Our LinkedIn Alumni Tool, which if you has anyone seen the Alumni Tool on LinkedIn? Rebecca has. Good. I'm going to blow your networking minds, so just get ready for that. And then @Cal, we'll go through that a little bit as well. All right, so the Haas LinkedIn group, I'm going to take this. As you can see, we have just slide captures. I am going to jump to the alumni website in a minute, and we will send out these slides to you guys, so don't worry. But when you look at your LinkedIn profile, anytime you're on the LinkedIn pages, these are the headers you get, the home profile, network, jobs, interests. So going through your LinkedIn groups, and LinkedIn likes to change where these all are situated every now and then. They changed a couple months ago, so if you ever lose something, just look through the top tabs to re-find it. But you'll see the interests and then groups. So looking at the Haas Berkeley group, is everyone in that group? If you're not, just raise your hand real quick. Not a problem. So today, tomorrow, sometime soon, jump into haas.berkeley.edu/LinkedIn so that you can get access. This is a Berkeley-Haas alumni, student and alumni group only. You must be a Haas individual to be in this group. So it is a closed group, but it's very much about your Haas community, your Haas network. So in this group, you'll see you can join it and then go through various parts of, did I just press that wrong? Oh, that's what I wanted to do. When you join the Haas Berkeley group, you can see what you have access to. So discussions, just information in the promotions, jobs, I think that's gonna pop up next. Searching for members within our LinkedIn group, who's in the Berkeley-Haas LinkedIn group, how can you search them, and I'll show you that as well, but how can you find people who are in there and get connected to them. There we go. So in our Haas LinkedIn group, this is where you can do searches. And I want to point out, I do searches a lot of different ways. Whether I'm on the home page of LinkedIn, there's that first search bar. There are a lot of times, and we're going to use Microsoft product management as kind of an example of how to do searches here. But a lot of times when I'm looking for someone, I just jump to that home page of LinkedIn. I'll put in product management and Microsoft and Haas School of Business. So I just want to point out there are multiple ways to do searches. None of them are wrong, especially if they're giving you results. But definitely, this is another great way to do it. So within the Haas group, you're already looking at this group that you want to see, your Haas network. If you put in Microsoft, so you're looking for project management at Microsoft, and this is just an example. If you put in Microsoft, that's too big of a search term. So you're going to get people like our beautiful Rebecca Ricksen, but people who may not be at Microsoft, because if Microsoft is in their profile, this is a keyword that's coming up. So to do more intense searches, these Boolean searches, doing product management, as you'll see in the search bar, and Seattle and Microsoft, you'll get people who actually are working at Microsoft. So I just want to point that out, that there are a lot of ways to do searches. I always like to say go in and play. So you know a little bit more about my role here at Haas. I work with all of our students at Haas and with a lot of our younger alumni to get them connected to the alumni network using these tools. But I always say just go in and play and search, because the people that you're going to find that you're interested in connecting with are a better list than I could ever give you. Mostly because you know what you're looking for, you know who's going to fit the perfect job or a perfect connection for your business or what have you. You're going to find those much better than any of us could. So again, just go in and search, but this is just a great way to do it, putting in those Boolean search terms so that you really narrow down exactly what you're looking for. And this is what LinkedIn is very good at, these search terms and pulling in what you're looking for. Okay, LinkedIn Alumni Tool. This is where I'm going to blow your networking minds. Another way to do searches is through this tool, and this is new. It's only been out a couple years, but you'll see under Network and then Find Alumni, this is how you get to the tool, and this is what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to jump in front here. I'm going to change sides. So you'll see the attended box, 1900 to 2019. Now, you probably won't find people who graduated from Haas in 1900. It's okay. If you do, that would be really interesting, so we'll have to talk about that. But I just leave it open because there's no reason not to. So just utilizing that search term to keep it open so you're seeing all the alumni that are in this tool. And then you'll see here, we have over almost 23,000 alumni within this tool. And they're pulled in because Haas School of Business is in their profile. And then you'll see the search capabilities. This is so fun. I also like data. I also like searching for people, so it's very fun. But as you do the show more, it opens up more boxes. I think what's really exciting about this is if I were to click on, say I'm interested in finance, and I want to stay in the Bay Area, who's working in finance in the Bay? I would be able to click on the San Francisco Bay Area and then finance, which is that first term over there, what do they do? And it gives you these great profiles of alumni who are in that field. It also will show you where they work, the company that has the most alumni in it. I know I've done this search a million times. It's Wells Fargo, has the most alumni in finance in the Bay Area. So if I were looking to connect in Wells Fargo, this would be an amazing way for me to see how to connect with people. Or if I was looking at what are our alumni doing in finance, that's another way to see what companies are most populated with our Haas alumni. So it's just a great way to connect, to see who's doing what, who's in these various companies, etc.
Just to throw out some quick stats so that you know, which you probably already know, there are 36,000 alumni in the Haas Alumni Network living, right? We, I don't know if you remember, but that shot of the group that she threw up there were only 15,404. Believe me, we keep count every single day. So those are 15,404 alumni who've actually joined our alumni group. And as you can see, there's almost 23,000 who are actually on LinkedIn. So what you're doing by using these different points of entry is actually expanding your search as wide as you can and then narrowing it down. And for myself, I find that that's a really great way to do discovery. So what we're talking about now is finding those alums who could actually be helpful to you, valuable to you, maybe offer an informational interview. And it's really difficult to do discovery, right? To just kind of rack your brain or talk to people one-on-one. This is a great way to do it.
Yeah?
Is there a separate Berkeley group, because you may be looking for people from the economics department or the engineering department? And second question is the Berkeley group a subset of that group, or how does that?
It's a great question. So I'm a Cal alum, not a Haas alum. The Cal Alumni Association runs a group with thousands upon thousands of members. So there are 450,000-ish living Cal alumni worldwide. The Cal Alumni Association, you may know, requires membership dues. So I'm not certain whether they allow all graduates into that group or just people who are members of the Alumni Association, but there are thousands and thousands of people in it. And they do the same thing that we do, which is they actually hand vet every request to join the group. So you are certain that you're getting only Cal alums in the CAA group.
And then if you look right here where it says change school, if you're in the Berkeley-Haas group, this is coming up for you automatically. I'm also not a Haas alum, but I love Haas. I'm a UC Santa Barbara alum, so Santa Barbara comes up for me first. I just jump into the change school and I'm able to put in Haas. So you'd be able to put in UC Berkeley, or if you have an undergrad or grad school that you'd like to search as well, you just need to go into change school. Yeah?
I just want to make one point because I heard LinkedIn talk about this. I always find it confusing. I'm Todd and I work with these fine teachers that we have. UC Berkeley always comes up very early for where they work, or at the top of the list. And LinkedIn has told me, and if you look on the profiles, you see it, that a lot of that's because current students often will list that as where they work. That always threw me off because I thought, goodness, I have 200 colleagues or whatever it is, 100 and whatever, that work at Haas that went here, but that's not the case.
Right.
So that
is misleading.
Todd's talking about this.
Yes, thank you.
That
My
you-
good point.
Yeah, just right here.
They don't work at Berkeley, they're students.
They might be
Right.
students, yeah.
Well, they're here 5 days a week working, so it's a. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Quickly, so I just requested to get into that, but you have to let me in.
Yes,
Okay, so I'm stuck till you get around to doing that.
yes.
In about 45 minutes, you'll be in our
And
group.
So then one other question.
Rebecca can be bribed to get that done
I just
fast.
happened to type in Haas, and there are all sorts of subsections in there. There's Haas Silicon Valley, Haas Marketing, Haas, I can't remember them all.
Yes.
You
Actu-
have to invite yourself into all of those? One by
You
one
do.
by
So
one?
there's 75. So those are our
Am I
affinity
getting
groups.
ahead of you now?
No,
No, actually, this is a perfect segue to something I wanted to show all of you.
Yeah, while she pulls this up, I'll just go ahead and mention there are about 75 different affinity groups that Haas runs, and they're, some of them are by industry, right? They might be, there's even one that's so specific as product management, marketing, finance. And then there are some that are geographically based, Haas and NYC, the Pacific
Silicon
Northwest, Silicon Valley, exactly. So those are different ways that people would like to identify and align with different groups of alums.
And some of those are not owned by the alumni office. So you'll see, so I just pulled up our website. This is the alumni page, haas.berkeley.edu/alumni. I'm sure this is the homepage on all of your computers. Haha. See, I think I'm funny. But so you'll see the different groups that we have, that these live under,
Some of them live
some
on
under, and some you will have to need to be part of
Basically,
the.
some of them you don't control.
Correct.
Is what you're saying.
Correct.
Sure.
But they're often, they will let you in when they see that you have Haas on your profile, or that you're part of the Berkeley-Haas group in LinkedIn. Then they know that you are an alum, so they'll let you
So
in.
this
They'll
would be just
accept
Charlie
that.
Green out there set this up, and he owns it, and he's managing it?
Well, anything that's on this list is something that we know, we at least know the person. So it might be a student group, right? So, or it might be some of our friends in the centers, responsible business. If anyone went to Laura Tyson's talk, these are colleagues of ours who we trust to do some of this work. The Berkeley Angel Network is an investor group that's all, it varies. But what these little asterisks indicate is that they are actually subgroups of that official group. Therefore, if you join that main group, haas.berkeley.edu/LinkedIn, then after that you'll be able to get into any of those that are then starred.
And the ones that do have Haas in the
excuse me.
name, we're working with the people who own those groups. So it's not just like Joe off the street forming a Haas finance group. It's someone who's working with us to kind of be a champion for that industry.
Can I try one more question and I'll shut up? So I was already in the BREAA one, the real
Yes.
estate one, but I wasn't in the main one.
And I missaid that, sorry. We have a lot of websites, and so different lists are starred in different ways. The Brea one is actually Cal-wide, but we own it because we have the Fisher Center for Real Estate and Urban Economics here. So that was something that was created in partnership with them. That is not an official subgroup of our group, but don't worry, we'll let you in. And then there are a lot. So let's see, some of the ones, just to throw them out there, that are actual subgroups: marketing, responsible business, social impact, Haas JD. Then once you're a member of our umbrella group, you can join any of those as fit your interest areas.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. I'm going to show you one more thing on this page, just so I'm not toggling back and forth. But we're going to go through how do you reach out, how do you network. And what I want to point out is if you look at the Student Alumni Connection page here, we have samples. Let me make sure that that's there. We have samples of what potential emails look like, some best practices in networking. But a lot of this stuff that Rebecca and I are going through in our presentation also lives on our website. So again, play is a word that I like anyway, you know, play in your searches. Play on our website to see what we have available, because there's a lot of great resources to you so that you're reaching out, you're networking in a way that you're comfortable with through various options of how to reach out to people. Okay, so going back. All right, so we did the LinkedIn Alumni Tool. I just want to go through some of the big things that it'll show you: the geography, the employer, function, connection. As you go through, and you'll see the arrows on the side, there are 3 more categories that you can search as well. But so this is just a great way to search for people. I'm sorry, I don't think I said much about the show more. If you click on show more, and I'll share a search that I did this week. I had a new admit say, how many Haas alumni are in Indonesia? So just looking through where they live, Indonesia and the countries in Indonesia don't pop up in the most populated areas. So if you just do show more, I think 2 clicks down, it opens up a box for you to search and put in other terms that you're looking for. That's also available for a couple of the other terms as well, a couple of other top subject lines. So just if you don't see exactly what you want, you have opportunities to add stuff in. But this is fun. This has changed my world, and I highly recommend it. But then, so swipe to the right to connect. This is a question. How do you now connect with people? You found the alum that you want. You found, are you laughing at me?
No, I'm just saying this was actually meant to be a joke. Anyone here on Tinder? No? It's not funny to anyone then. Okay, never mind. There is a very popular dating app now where if you match with someone you like, you swipe right to connect. Thank you for nodding so that I just don't sound so crazy. Yep. Anyway, it's a joke. Joke.
So we're going to edit that part out of the video.
Jokes get funnier the more you explain them.
Okay, but how do you connect with people? That's the bigger thing that we're talking about. You found your love match on LinkedIn. You found the person you want to connect with. And Rebecca, of course, is all of our love match. We're going to look at, I found Rebecca in LinkedIn. She works for a company. She's in a role that I'm very interested in connecting with her on to network for informational interviews, or I have an interview there, so I'd love to just hear more. How do I find her? So at Cal is the UC Berkeley and Haas Alumni Directory. I'm going to tell you kind of the main things that I tell people about this. At Cal has over 450,000 UC Berkeley alumni, 36,000 Haas alumni. So a lot of people in here. But what you'll see is contact information for Haas is much more robust than you'll find for other UC Berkeley alumni. We've made a very strong effort because at Haas and because in the business school, networking is such a big part of what we do. We've made a huge effort to get alumni addresses visible. This was an opt-in system, so people had to say, yes, you can make my address visible, but there's a lot of great information in here. What I'll often get from our students, they'll say, oh, there's nothing in at Cal. And when I say, well, did you look at a UC Berkeley alumni profile or a Haas profile? Because that's going to be different. So the big end to this long soliloquy is that if you're not finding information, don't let that impact what you think is in there. There's a lot of amazing stuff in here. Again, I'm using LinkedIn and at Cal with all of my searches, with all of my connections. Okay.
Just to, from the last slide to this slide, is you left LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is where the peanut butter cup comes into play, the two great systems that work great together. LinkedIn, amazing search capabilities, amazing. And they work really well with what we're able to offer you. So jumping into LinkedIn, if you find someone, I don't always suggest connecting through InMail or sending that hey, connect with me. I don't know you, but what I do suggest is finding their personal email address, the one that they have visible to this community, so you can email them directly. I think that opens it up much more. I know that I'm very cautious with people who I link into in LinkedIn, but this, of course, is your internal network that you have to utilize your CalNet ID and passphrase to get into. So I recommend connecting with people in their personal emails that they have. All right, so you find Rebecca. in LinkedIn. You want to connect with her. So what you do is go to search. This is the tab you get first. You know her name, so first name and last name. But if you wanted to do more searches, LinkedIn, at Cal does have capabilities for degrees. So we have 6 degrees at Haas, full-time EW, executive MBA, etc. Undergrad. You could put in class years. So if you're looking for someone from your class that you forgot where they're working or what their email address is, this is another way to do those searches. But we're just doing this name search. So you'd put in Rebecca and Ricksen, and you would get her profile. She does not have a photo, so we can make fun of her. Behind her back, of course. But no, but you'll see that you're able to go into your profiles in @Cal, and I highly recommend that you do. Put your photo in there. Whatever the one you're using in LinkedIn, that's a perfect one to throw in here. But you'll see information. This @Cal public profile, this is really cool. You can give this to anyone that you know and just say, oh yeah, here, check me out. This goes to a public profile that Rebecca has that then confirms she's a UC Berkeley alum. This is all coming through an internal website. You have her LinkedIn page, her Facebook page if she puts that there, her Twitter, etc. But so it's just a really neat extra tool, an extra kind of business card for your online presence that I recommend trying. And since Rebecca and I were some of the first people who were able to do this, that's why she got Rebecca and I got Meg. So, you know, don't know what's left, but go have fun. Ha ha. But you'll see in here where she lives, her email address, right here, career information. If you go into a profile and there is not a visible email address, this blue envelope here on the top, that means that we do have an email address for this alum. You can click on that email address and send them an email to their email address, and it's coming from you. You'll see it says it's coming from you and where it's going. So you will not see their email address until they write back to you, but that's a way to connect with them. So if there's no blue envelope, it means we do not have an email address for them. So that's no magic that we can work.
I bet you're going to ask how many we have on file. Was that okay? We actually have, out of our 36,000 alumni, there are about 20,000, give or take, for whom you will be able to reach via email. The reason that number is not higher is that some of them actually opt out of receiving email contact, and of course we want to respect their preferences. But we feel like that's pretty good. If we do not have your email address on file, let's talk. We'll get it there. Thanks.
And then also my plea for you is to jump into your profile. Let me see if this is the next slide. It's not. But jump into your profile on @Cal. You'll see next to your email address, make it visible to the network. That's an option. So don't let it be visible, etc., but just make it visible so we're all part of this. A little bit more information @Cal public profile. This can also be just a little bit more heads into what this looks like. Email address, as I just went through, the blue envelope. I'm laughing in my own mind. And then the outreach. Okay, so now you know who you want to connect with. You have their email address. You've done a little stalking in the nice way in LinkedIn to see where are they working, what are they doing. But how do you reach out to them? What do you say? What's a way to get them to say, okay, I see this email, let me write back to this person, or let me connect, or tap into this network. So succinct, you know this, quick. What can I put on a screen that someone will see in their busy day? They understand what I'm asking for, and it's very quick. Actionable, don't leave it as a blank. So are you able to meet sometime? Having it say, I'd love to talk with you on a Friday afternoon, I'm very free, or I'm in the city every Tuesday, do you have time to meet for coffee? Leaving that open so people can look at their schedule of, okay, yes, I am free on Tuesday, I can meet with them. Question between in-person, phone, or email. I will tell you, and I'll ask for your opinion also. My opinion is always, if you can meet with someone in person, do. The one-on-one connection, I feel, is so much stronger, and it's just easier as human beings to have those connections with people. If someone is not local to you, if schedules don't work, phone and email are great. Sometimes that's how it is, and you kind of look at what fits into everybody's schedule to connect with people. And then availability windows, that goes back into, you know, setting these actionable items as time to meet with someone. Gracious and grammatically sound. I think we can all agree on that. No, you're there. You're where, you know. And then here's just a sample. Again, we're gonna send this out to you so you have this. There's also sample emails on our alumni website, but you'll see how would you reach out to someone? What would you write to get them to come back to you? How do you prepare? Just make sure you have these questions ready and you know what you're going to ask someone. We're all busy, so make sure whatever you ask from someone that you're coming prepared and you're able to be there on time and connect with them. So this is how you network. This is how you find people to reach out to, how to make those initial asks to reach out. Does anyone have any questions? No?
So what if you don't hear back from them?
Okay, so that's a great question. My thought is if you don't hear back from someone, it's because they're busy. It wasn't anything terribly negative. You may want to look at the email that you sent. I've certainly gotten emails from alumni saying, hey, Meg, people need to reach out better than this. I'll tell you a really funny story very quickly. Uber, which is a company, we all know Uber. A lot of people want to work there. We have a first-year MBA student who just came from Uber. So he sent me an email from the recruiter that said, hey, Billy, you got to talk to your classmates. They're not reaching out well. It was a terrible email asking for an internship. And I was reading through it and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to figure out who this is so I can go talk with them and talk with them about how to reach out. It wasn't even a Haas student though. It was somebody just using the Haas name. So that goes back to also this, who you link into in LinkedIn. There have been trolls, people who have Haas on their LinkedIn profile that aren't Haas. And so if you ever see that, feel free to let us know. They're reaching out to grab your information. But I just find it so interesting that, you know, these are the things that we're dealing with. Anyway, going back, I'm sorry, to your original question. If someone doesn't reach out, just shoot them another email in the next week. So I would look at maybe 2 to 3 connections tops and then go to the next person. But I also think when you're networking with someone, unless they're this exact perfect fit for what you need, there are other people that you can reach out to at the same time. So maybe look at how many other connections can you try to make at the same time while recognizing that if you reach out to 5 people and those 5 people want to have coffee with you on Tuesday, you're having coffee 5 times on Tuesday. Is that good? Yeah, so just, and if you ever have questions about is this a good email or one that doesn't grab attention, ask your colleagues, ask your friends, ask your classmates. Would you reply to this if you want to help kind of pull it together a little bit more?
So related to her question, let's assume she goes to the person and she sends an email and there's no response, but that person also has a phone number in their profile. Do you think it's appropriate to leave a voicemail? Just say, send you an email, would love to connect, learn about XYZ?
Yes, and I think just that message of I sent you an email, I'm a Haas alum, I'd love to connect with you when you have a moment, please let me know when you have time to catch up. I think that's great. You don't have to leave the whole email that you wrote, on voicemail, but definitely I think that quick follow up. But I would only do that if they don't get back to you in the next couple of days. I'd leave a window. I mean, I know for me personally, there are sometimes I get back to everyone by the end of the week, but sometimes not just on the day that they send an email to me. Yeah, that's a good idea though.
I'm trying to understand how it works within this group. So we don't have to connect with them because we're already connected, because we belong to the group.
Yeah, in at Cal. So in at Cal, you have access to people's emails. You're able to connect with them directly through email. In LinkedIn, you are part of this group, so you have that in common, but you still have to make those direct connections to be the first person connection. And so with that, you'll have access to people's email addresses. That's visible to you when you're a first person connection.
So Meg and I, part of what we're doing here is that we love sales, Meg and I. We love, and I don't mean like making sales, I mean like getting us something on sale. And what we're giving you is actually
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Well, and what we're giving you is actually getting something on sale. So as you may know, anyone here worked for LinkedIn? LinkedIn, of course, is a fee-based service if you want to get the premium access, which means ability to send messages to anyone out there in their network. over 200 million people are on LinkedIn. The thing is that if you're really in a job search, you might want to do it for free, and especially if they're within the Cal community. For most of these people, you can actually reach out to them for free. So start with the free stuff, and then you can move on to the pay-for-service.
Are paid-for-services useful in any way?
In a lot of cases they are. So the things that you would get for additional, and I do not work for LinkedIn, I work for Haas, but the things that you would get if you actually went for a premium account, you get more search results. So if you're looking for that needle in a haystack person for your business, for your next job opportunity, it could be. You also get a couple of additional things. A certain number of in-mail is what they call their messaging system. And then the other thing that you can do is you can opt in to be what they call an open link member. And that's where it's actually something that I choose to do. It is because any open link person who opts in can then also receive open link messages for free. So it's a way to just make yourself extra available. And in our line of work, we want to be extra available to you.
But I'll be honest, I don't pay for LinkedIn. I have the bare bones structure, and it works perfectly for me. I'm not looking for a job. I'm kind of happy here. But if you are, there are options to pay for it in 1 month chunks. So it is something to look at if you're actively seeking and then just not renew. So that's an option as well.
Has anyone ever jumped into the @Cal Alumni Directory? Anyone in this room?
I'm trying to sign up right now, but I need a student ID or a PIN or Cal Alumni Association membership number. How do I get that information?
You can email alumnihelp@Haas.
Okay.
And it's actually run by this gal named Rebecca Ricksen. So she'll respond to you. She's looking forward to it. Any other questions on the Haas way of networking before we kind of dive into your profiles? And anyone who feels like they have a really robust profile who would like to go out and enjoy the California sunshine? No? Okay, it wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Do you want this?
And I'll actually use this. Thank you, though. So in preparation for your search, there are a couple things that we would encourage you to do. None of them are required, but all of them might help a little bit. So if you're a job seeker, anyone in this room job seeking who wants to raise their hand and share that they're job seeking? Fabulous. You've come to the right place. This is all about making personal connections. And when I say you've come to the right place, I mean this conference today. There are several hundred people here. The things that you can do in different ways, some job seekers choose to be on the hunt. That means that your timeline is shorter. You're actively seeking a job. So you're really doing a lot of outreach, and you're dedicating a good amount of time to this every day. Even if you already have another job and a real life, this is something you're actually dedicated yourself to. Some people choose to fish. That might mean that you are throwing an application in when the exact right thing comes along, but it's more, a little bit more passive and a little bit less time sensitive. It might be just pausing to wait for the right thing. And then some people who are looking for a job just choose to be prey, right? The job might find you. You might get recruited away or sought by a great friend who's also a Haas alum. This happens, so make yourself available. These are not necessarily industry terms. These are terms that we use in-house, just so that you know. One of the secrets to doing all three, One of the secrets to doing all these three really well is to actually start by being great prey. If you make yourself really available to the world, then that's actually prepping you to go out there and aggressively look for a job.
So you'll see this is my profile. This is a terrible picture for LinkedIn. Just don't, I should not have this as my LinkedIn picture, as there's alcohol right there. I just look good in it, so that's why I have it. But I know, I can do a lot of, I just need a better picture. I'll talk to Jim Block. But just heads up, I recognize this is not the best picture to have.
A great picture to have, going all the way back to our pop quiz about sharing photos, what you're going to want to have is really a headshot. You want people to be able to see what you look like. Some people choose to not for various reasons, but LinkedIn will be the first group to tell you that profiles with photos get way more looks. Mm-hmm. Something about the psychology of being able to see that person, it means that you automatically feel more connected to them and interested in them for a number of reasons.
And real quick to interrupt, something I read today, you want a straight-on photo or one with you looking to the left, like over your left shoulder, not over, but looking down, because then you're looking at your profile. And so the article I was reading was saying if you're looking to your right, which I'm doing here, that it means that you're not really invested in what you're writing. So I just thought that was interesting too.
Art history lesson.
Yeah.
That's cool. Some things that I really like about what Meg does on her profile, and I'm not just saying it because she's in the room. I really like the way Meg actually dives into this part. So as we were talking about kind of the profile that's a shell, right? Where this is actually, my profile is a shell. It just has my titles and kind of the years that I worked there. I'm missing a huge opportunity if I were seeking a job, because every single word on this entire section, all indexable. So that means that every single one could come up in a search result. That's how I come up in a search for Microsoft, along with several thousand other people. I have Microsoft somewhere on my profile. It probably means I use Microsoft Office.
Does a LinkedIn profile essentially replace a resume?
Interesting. In some cases it can. One thing that I'll say about that is that I would not encourage you to just replicate everything that you have on your resume in here. You'll notice this is not bulleted, and of course a great resume will have achievement bullets in kind of problem, action, result type commentary, right? Each bullet will have a problem, the action, the result, usually most often how you made money, or save time. In this case, she's really just talking about what she's doing, talking about what her expertise is, and talking about why someone might be interested. In some ways, it's a little bit more like an elevator pitch. Todd.
I really agree with what you said about jumping right in. One thing I've looked at a lot of different LinkedIn profiles, trying to find all of you, because I work for Haas as well. And I do notice that the folks that have good, solid summaries up front, which is something that LinkedIn allows you to do. So it comes right under that, your name, and it's before your experience. Just allowing you to define in maybe 1, 2, 3 sentences who you are, how much experience you have, what your focus is. A lot of people also put really a lot of enthusiasm and passion into describing what they're about. Like, I am a social media or educational specialist, aficionado, blah, blah, blah. More eloquently than that. But I find that really effective when I come across those.
Anyone
Sometimes
use?
people can go on too long. But.
Sure. Anyone use the summary in your profile? Excellent. For those of you who are familiar with SEO, you would also know that then by putting those search terms in the top half of your page, it's a good thing.
So I do have a summary that's not pulled up here, and what I'll say is that's actually my stronger elevator pitch. People often take it, and that's how they introduce me at different events. That it shares my passion and my love for what I do. So that's all in there.
That's
so check out my profile if you'd like to see. John.
Just a question a little bit related to resume. So timing. So if you have been with the company for 5, 6 years, do you need a month, or can you just take from year to year?
So for me, LinkedIn will actually ask you for that. It prompts you, when did you start this job? And that's how this is populated. September 06 is populated from the input. My personal view is that on a resume, I would not put months. It's just my personal thing. I think it adds too many words. I kind of like a little blank space. Going back to the art history lesson. Any other questions? Nope, okay. So I like how she uses a lot of different words. Like I said, these are all indexed and searchable. So you want to get good industry and functional words in there, little good phrases. Meg was talking earlier about the vanity URL in @Cal. You can also do this in LinkedIn. Does anyone use that feature? It's free, so I would encourage you to go ahead and use it. And I'll show you a really great example in just a minute of why. But for me, when I Google myself, and take an opportunity to Google yourself every once in a while, I'm the first, my LinkedIn page is the first result that comes up. And granted, Ricksen, R-I-C-K-S-E-N, is a fairly unique spelling of my name. I misspelled it for the first several years I dated my husband. But it's, that's actually a fact. But no matter what your name is, you want to be one of the early search results, right? Because you know that a new employer is definitely going to Google you before they decide to hire you. I say definitely. I can't tell you 100% certainty, but most of the people that we hire, we choose to go ahead and do that. Anyone do that practice before you bring on someone else in your team? Yeah, it's worth a look. This again, if you go into your public profile, anyone working along with us in your LinkedIn profile, you're going to go into the the profile section, which is just the thumbnail of your of yourself, of your photo. That's in the upper right-hand corner. And then you can actually select whatever you want that profile URL to be. Some people choose to put this on their resume. Some people choose to put it on their at Cal homepage, lots of different places, and there's no reason not to. But we had a question last time we did this presentation, actually. Someone has a very long and difficult to spell last name. There are definitely pros and cons for choosing to use your full name, but it's most likely going to be the search term that they use. Yep, go ahead.
So a question that you said something just triggered a question.
Sure.
So if you're Googling yourself and you have a name that's very similar to many people, and it pops up and the employer's looking at it, they may not be finding you exactly, but finding something about someone else that may not put you in the best light. Is there anything you can do about that?
Sure. So I used to be Rebecca Miller, and there are thousands of Rebecca Millers. It's pretty much the blandest name on the planet. And what I might have chosen to do is use an initial, both on my resume and in my profile, right? Rebecca S. Miller, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Whatever it is to give yourself a little bit of brand recognition online, I think it's worthwhile. Is your name familiar to a lot of people, or similar to a lot of people?
So.
No, okay.
Yeah.
But when you searched, did it come up?
It has come up
Okay.
with many Tiffany, Joy.
To see it.
But it's not that many.
Right.
There's a Meg Roundy, which I think I have a random name. There's a Meg Roundy in San Francisco. She and I are now friends on Facebook. But yeah, people have asked me, wait, is that you or is that you? So.
The good news is that a prospective employer probably will be also looking at your resume, so then they can verify. And this is something that we do too. As we're Googling alums, for example, to get them into the LinkedIn group, we are cross-checking against a number of points, so they'll be able to figure you out. The other thing that you can do to make yourself more searchable and findable in searches is actually add some content. And when I say content, what Meg provided was great, talking about her job and talking about her achievements in her job especially. That's wonderful. Don't forget to quantify it. Recruiters love numbers, right? You didn't just save money, I saved X amount of money. But you're also going to want to add content. I myself don't do this, but it is very easy to do. So anything that you have created, right? Any projects that you've completed that you have some product, you can actually upload them as a file if it's PDF, a Word doc, whatever it might be. Someone who does this really well is actually someone who's here right now at this conference. Any MBA 2009s in the house? MBA 2009? Nobody, okay. Well, no problem. This particular alum this is Bjorn Ostrat. He's lucky because he has a very unique last name, right? A very unique combination of names, but something else that Bjorn does extremely well. Anyone looking? I'll leave it up there for a minute just in case anyone wants to go ahead and search for him on LinkedIn right now. He both has a big job but also has a lot of interest areas, and so he creates a tremendous amount of content in the form of a blog, in the form of a workshop presentation that he's actually done for other alumni, for us, and then friends as well. Let me just show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. He does a lot of things well, right? He has a lot of detail in his title. He has a lot of connections. He uses that summary really, really nicely. But then when you get down into the add content part that I showed you, he is actually adding real things about himself that he produced. And the nice thing is this wasn't for a client. It's not confidential. It's something that he built. But it just shows how he's a thought leader, how he has a story to tell. And then he also, underneath kind of a third of the way down his summary, anyone pull up his profile yet? A third of the way down his summary, he actually goes into kind of all the areas where he is an expert. Again, all gonna come up in search results. So when someone goes into LinkedIn or our LinkedIn group especially and looks for one of these things, Bjorn's gonna be right there in the search results. I just have to show you this because Bjorn shared on this workshop, he actually shared that he had a consultant help him really dive deep into his LinkedIn profile. If you are very aggressively looking for a job, if you're in that hunt phase, this might be something that's worthwhile to do for a couple of reasons. At some point, you have a lot of career achievements behind you, right? You might as well put them up there, get it done once, and then it's also a great kind of learning. You'll know how to do it then as you have more and more achievements. One of the things that they did together was they actually built this beautiful infographic resume. I like it for a couple of reasons. Resumes are pretty tough. I like a lot of white space. I think that this talks about his achievements in a very understandable way. I just love it so much. Swoon.
Oh, she was right there.
Sorry. Sometimes when you're making slide decks, you just think about any way that can make them less like a slide deck. If you have questions, again, Bjorn is actually here. He's an MBA 09. He is happy to talk about this to anyone. Bjorn's next project, just so that you know, he was just mentioning, he's actually now making a video elevator pitch. It's going to be all text and kind of have the text as a graphic, right? So it's going to kind of float in, come in different ways. But he wrote up what his elevator pitch really is, why someone would want to hire him. I mean, there are so many reasons, right? He's a Haas MBA, let's start with that. But it's going to then be this very brief 30 to 60 second video that people could then watch and learn really something about his expertise area. He created the content for that. I'm sure he'd be happy to discuss it with you if you're interested. Other people, as they're creating their content, they might be, you know, certainly if you're an entrepreneur and can talk about your own business, I really hope that you use this to showcase that. LinkedIn, while it's great for people who work at a company and you can talk about the company, you can link to the company page, it's actually more difficult, I think, for an entrepreneur to show what he or she is doing. And that's why I want to show you Lisa Beckhuizen's. Anyone ever have an advising appointment with Lisa Beckhuizen? Any MBAs? Okay. She's fabulous. She's a great advisor, and she actually works here in MBA Career Management. Another thing that Lisa actually does is she created this skill finder, skill identifier tool called SkillScan, which is very well known in the career development community because she's a real expert and the founder and creator of SkillScan. She absolutely put that on her LinkedIn profile, as she should. When someone now searches for SkillScan in a Google search, Lisa's going to come up. Going back to using keywords, I just wanted to show you that when you create, you're going to have an opportunity underneath your name to create kind of a tagline for yourself. Greg Smith is an executive recruiter. This is how he represents himself in LinkedIn. It's very specific, and it's very clear what he does. Anyone have a question about whether or not he'd be valuable to you to talk to, right? You're either going to fit his criteria or not. It just saved you a bunch of time. The other thing that he could have said was recruiter. One is much more helpful than the other. Just another quick example, our colleague Bruce Matos, who's actually going to be here this afternoon for our industry networking event at the end of the day, this is how he describes himself. All these things, right? Just in his first tagline, all of a sudden, you know a lot about the work that he does and the role that he plays here at UC Berkeley.
Can I, oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
So when you're searching for people though, so I love that people, I'm gonna play both sides of the coin here because I do a lot of searches. If I'm looking for Greg, or if I'm looking for someone at XYZ recruiting agency, say that's where Greg works. Greg would come up in the search that comes up through LinkedIn, and then I'd see that he's an executive recruiter for Bit. I'd see all that. I wouldn't see what company he's in. I'd have to click on his profile to see, oh, he is there, or he was there 5 years ago. But just as an FYI, if you're doing company searches, and people have this in their keywords in their LinkedIn profile, it can be kind of a pain. That's just a heads up. Again, I'm playing both sides of the coin here because this is extremely valuable when people are trying to find you. But if I just want to know who's at this company, then I have to click in profiles. So that's just a heads up as you're doing searches.
One more, well, the way to mitigate that, of course, is to use that Alumni Finder tool that Meg showed and use all those cross filters, because when you're filtering by where they work, it really is pulling on their most recent place of employment for you. Let the technology do the work for you. Yeah. One thing that we'll say about prepping yourself to be a great prey, we encourage you to connect with Karen. Meg alluded to this a lot earlier, and I think that it's worth mentioning. There are people out there who aren't nice. We all know this. Unfortunately, this is the truth of the world. What we would recommend is that you just pick kind of your own compass about what feels right to you in terms of connecting and then stick to it. For me personally, it's I connect with people who I actually know, and I connect with Haas alumni. And I have this kind of clear guideline, and then I never have to question whether or not I want to connect with someone. And when I say if I know them, I mean we've exchanged emails. I feel like I know something about them, so that if they do something bad to me, I can get them back. I'm just joking. This person, for example, when I was looking at someone who is pretty open about who they network with, right? Thousands and thousands of connections. I wanted to look up open networkers. This is actually a thing in LinkedIn. You can actually do a search on LinkedIn open networker. That means that's someone who will connect with anyone. Pros and cons, right? There are real pros and cons to that. Here's a person who's a LinkedIn open networker, and I just want you to think about why this person would have done that. Comes pretty clear, right? The reason he's a LinkedIn open networker is he works for LinkedIn. He is only benefiting from having the biggest network possible, and that's his MO. It's an MO that works for him. If he were someone who were an attorney, who had a very dedicated retained client base, would he be an open networker? Probably not. So whatever works for you in your business, in your world, absolutely stick with it. Anyone have kind of a guideline for themselves they like to stick with? Todd?
Well, again, I'm distorting this because I work for Haas, so of course I would be. I go for it, and I have come across really strong opinions to the opposite, that people say they keep a really tight network and they don't want to open it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you outlined the spectrum pretty
Sure. Yeah, I know someone who will actually only connect with someone if she would actually recommend them, because she feels by her connection that she is, in essence, publicly recommending them. So there are people who she's decided to not connect with, who she used to work with very closely. It says a lot more than any reference. Go ahead.
I used to have a really strict thing. I would, vendors who were trying to sell me things, and that I wasn't open to meeting them, I would have declined. But then when I became open to job search, I tried to figure out a way to open it up a bit. And that's something, when somebody moves to being more active to opportunities, how do they open up that? What attitude do they take? I just wonder if anybody's thought of that yet.
It is interesting. One thing that you can do, and we're going to get into this in the next couple of slides, is that as you're preparing to job search, make sure that you're protecting your network. So you'll notice that there are ways to set in the preferences who else can see who you are connected to. So even if you're choosing to be very open about direct connecting with others, if you can make it so that none of your network can see your network, and certainly nobody outside your network could see your network.
That's interesting, because my wife's this way, so she doesn't want recruiters just stealing her people. I wouldn't want recruiters stealing my people, but at the same time, an executive recruiter that was looking for me, I might be open to.
Right.
So
yeah. Depends on where they're sitting and what they're offering. Definitely. You had a question?
No, just answering your question. I think one of the things I do I found useful is at the end of the year, just go through the list, and you forget people sometimes after 3-4 years of having connected with them 4 years ago. I don't know them. It's one way to manage the list. Because if you have 800, 900 connections, it's really not, I don't think, at least for me, worthwhile.
It's a great idea. And you can do that both on LinkedIn, and you can actually download all of your connections as an Excel file. And in fact, some salespeople prefer, this is one other benefit to the kind of advanced pack or the premium service of LinkedIn, is that some people choose to really use this as your Rolodex in the cloud, right? So in fact, I don't have a slide of it, but even on someone's profile, if we've then had a connection, I can actually keep kind of little notes and contact reports about different meetings that we had, things that were discussed, so that then when it's time for me to refresh that connection, I know exactly where we left it off. So it becomes your Salesforce.
So when you delete them, do they know you deleted them?
If they look for you. It's kind of like Facebook. I mean, they both protect you so that you can avoid those awkward conversations. You don't have to actually break up online. This is not about dating. I'm sorry for all the dating app jokes.
The answer was they wouldn't get an email saying you have been on
there's not
LinkedIn,
an alert.
but they will see that they're no longer a first connection to you if they were to look you up.
Okay.
Right. Does that
But
answer?
if it's somebody that you haven't been why would
Yeah.
you look at it?
Talk to them in 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
Ex-wife, no.
Right. My whole list of ex-wives.
If you're seeking to connect with someone who's not in the Haas network, so I don't have that, what is the best way to get through the, are you a friend, do you not know them, did you work with them, all that stuff? Because that can really tick people off if you say, yes, I worked with them, or whatever. So how do you recommend making that connection?
Sure. I'm so glad you brought that up, because in my mind, that is the second part of Connect with Care. if you reach out to too many people who you don't know actually at all, they can start flagging you, right? Because think about when you receive a request, it says either accept, ignore, and below that it says, I don't know this person. And if they click, I don't know this person, and then you can actually, it's very easy. It's 2 clicks to report you as spam. And if you get reported as spam too many times, all of a sudden you won't be able to reach out to connect to anyone without actually having their real email address, which would then prove that you're not a robot, you're a human. So the way to get around that is what Meg showed you. Instead of reaching out to connect to them, find them in LinkedIn, identify them, do the discovery in LinkedIn, but then reach out using a real email. For people who keep their network a little bit more buttoned up, then you're also giving them the opportunity to, I've had people ask all the time, may I send you a request on LinkedIn, right? It's kind of a nice way to decide where this relationship is going to go, this connection is going to go. Go ahead, John.
It's interesting because I get a lot of requests on LinkedIn that people, I get kind of irritated when they're not even bothered to change the base text. Because there's a base pretext that said, I want to connect with you or something. And like, if you don't need to kind of take the time to actually write something customized, don't bother.
I think that's something about LinkedIn. So basically, sometimes when you see more contact, if you just connect more information or something, they just send it right away. You don't even get to read anything sometimes. You have to click their profile and then say connect, then they let you write.
Oh.
Yeah, so don't take it as offensive that people don't take time. Sometimes I was trying to write something and then go boom, it's already sent.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, LinkedIn won't let you put it in there.
Oh.
Sometimes, from certain interfaces, yeah.
It depends on which step.
Todd.
A lot of times I use that function that's send in mail.
Yep.
And is that just a premium function? I can't remember.
It is. So yep, that's what you're paying for. So you can even buy just InMails if you want it, if there are people who you'd like to reach out to. And for people who I really don't know, who are really outside of the network, that is a really nice way to just reach out and let them know. I mean, you're cold calling, and that's why they built this. It's for salespeople, but it works really well. Todd.
And I mean, another piece that, and I'm sure you're aware of this, people will rate your InMail. So I use that very judiciously to keep a really high rating. So, you know, my rating is like 5 stars or something because I really try to make it relevant to the people. And obviously not just spam, because it's, again, one of those things you get flagged with a low rating. You use InMail and you're just reaching out to people.
Yep.
And I'll go back to both of these points then. When you're reaching out, this is your opportunity to connect, to make that connection, to have people want to follow up with you. If someone's not utilizing that well, do you want them in your network? So going back to people that you wouldn't connect with, they didn't utilize this opportunity how perhaps they should have or could have. So that's just a thought process also. Do you want them in this professional network?
Any other questions about connecting, reaching out? Great. So kind of the last step of really polishing your profile well is to protect yourself. So just like we try to protect our connections, we also want to protect ourselves. And when I'm talking to you as job seekers, I'm actually talking to you specifically about how to keep your boss from maybe seeing that you're looking for another job. Underneath privacy and settings, which again is under your thumbnail up in the upper right-hand corner, go ahead and take a review of it, and you can actually customize everything that's seen. So underneath here, it's going to let you kind of determine who can see your activity broadcast. Before you even start making any changes, I would encourage you to go ahead and lock this up as tightly as you possibly can. The reason being is that if your boss happens to be in LinkedIn every day, some people choose to check it every day, right? They just go in. In the news feed that LinkedIn has now, if you've changed a bunch of things, updated a bunch of information, added a lot more keywords, your boss is going to see that, and actually it's highlighted kind of in there. Do this first so that that doesn't end up in his or her activity feed. Again, this is going back to selecting who can see your connections, so protecting the rest of your network. And then some people who are private choose to hide who can see their photos. So their connections or second connections can see their photo, but maybe not everybody can see their photo. It's a personal preference thing. Again, if you want a lot of people to see your profile, make it visible to everyone. If you are a more private person, go ahead and keep it just to your folks. Yes?
Just curious, say if I make my photo only visible to my you can't until you actually become that?
No, the thing about sending an invite, that's the other thing to know, is that when you send an invite, you're actually giving them a fair amount of power and information about yourself, right? So even with InMails, for example, a lot of times people can see your email address when you send an InMail. So just keep that in mind, that you're actually allowing them a good sneak peek at who you are and what you do.
And to add to this is a funny and maybe somewhat inappropriate story, but I think it's funny. And it goes off the ex-wife comment. So you can see who looks at your profile, and an ex-boyfriend who kept looking at my profile, and I don't know why. That's the inappropriate part of this story. But so people will see if you've looked at their profile, and this is I don't pay in LinkedIn, so I can see who's looked at my profile. You can make yourself anonymous before you look at profiles. So that's something to be thoughtful about.
Just curious, say if I make myself anonymous, people who's paid, can they see if I in their profile?
Don't think
No.
so.
No, so that's the thing, is that, yeah. A lot of people do it that way. A lot of people choose to never have people looking, and that's one of those interesting things also. If you're really looking for a job, leave that available, right? So then that way, if you've looked at someone's profile, you know, you get those alerts sometimes from LinkedIn, see who's looking at your profile. Then you can actually, the recruiter, for example, would actually be able to see, and they'll know. It's kind of like smiling. The etiquette of smiling, when someone does it to you, your inclination is to do it back. When someone looks at your profile, your inclination is to do it back. Go ahead.
How do you, if you want to make yourself anonymous before looking at a profile, where do you do that?
Yep. Select what others see when you viewed their profile. So the third option down. So then it'll give you the option to just say a colleague at UC Berkeley, right? It'll say someone at UC Berkeley, or you could have it locked up so tight that it just says anonymous. No photo, no nothing. They will just be able to see that someone looked, but not anything about who. More questions about that? Okay, protect yourselves. The internet is a weird place. For those of you who are very passively looking, maybe just waiting for the right, perfect thing, a couple of things to note about this slide. One, we have a CFO job open. Anyone interested? Let me know after the session. The second thing to notice is that this woman who posted the job, Natalia Gray, she's actually going to be at our industry networking event tonight as well. She is a talent acquisition person here at UC Berkeley. She's helping on this high-level search, and a lot of other high-level searches at UC Berkeley if you want to work here. But the nice thing about this, if I were a job seeker, I would definitely be checking the LinkedIn job board. It is really hard when you're looking at a job or you see a job on XYZ job board online. It's really hard to know, who can I talk to about this job? Who would have more information? LinkedIn actually gives that to you as a gift, so that if you wanted to reach out to her directly, ask her more about it, ask her where they are in the process, whether it's worth it to apply. There are a lot of ways to then get access with them. The other nice thing that LinkedIn does for you is it shows me, it shows me, you, all the different people who you know who work at that company, who are both your first connection and your second connection. First connection, of course, is someone who you're directly linked to. Second is someone where you share a mutual connection. And then LinkedIn actually dropped the rest of the connections after that. Once you get to kind of a third level connection, it's really watered down and it's actually not that useful to you. Whereas if this were actually a second connection, Professor Chesbrough, it's pretty clear what I would do. I'm very interested in the CFO position. Hank, do you know anybody? Yes, I do. I know Natalia. I'm the new CFO of Haas.
And don't worry about this, well, I shouldn't say don't worry, but take it with a grain of salt that you'd be in the top 50% of applicants. Way to go, Bex. But do you guys know who Guy Kawasaki is? So he was chief evangelist at Apple, a chief evangelist at Motorola. He's really well known in the Valley and around the world. But for Motorola had a job posted. He had this on his Twitter feed. It said he was in like the top 60. Like it was very low for a Motorola job what percentage he would have been viable for that role. And he kind of thought that was funny. But it's just one where sometimes don't take everything 100%. Apply if you fit, if you're interested, if you connect.
I personally actually don't know much about what goes into that algorithm.
And the salary, just from my experience, is also off. When I've actually talked to a recruiter, it can be just way different than whatever.
It definitely can be.
thinks.
So LinkedIn actually partnered with PayScale, which is a company that actually just got a lot of funding last week. that collects salary data. It's a service that you can log into, put in your salary information, and then it will share back kind of how you rate compared to your peers, people with similar job titles in similar sized companies in similar geographies. Questions about responding to postings using LinkedIn? Okay. If you're really actively looking for a job, this is a question that we get all the time, and I think why all of you are here, go ahead and look for recruiters. So one of the beautiful things about LinkedIn is the recruiters love it, right? All of a sudden, it's a way to get a lot of information about people that wasn't available to you before. When I used these different search criteria in LinkedIn, this is actually what I came up with. This was in the LinkedIn tool, in fact. And we have 44 immediate results, some of them whom I know, some of them who I don't know as well. But same with you, if you went in and did it, I wouldn't be surprised if you actually know a lot of folks. So definitely worth checking them out. Recruiters, of course, will have their own very clear desire for how they want to be connected to. But if you follow them, sorry, let me get out of this animation. If you follow them, a lot of times recruiters will actually be posting the job, so there's a real reason to link with them. Not just on LinkedIn, but also on Twitter. Then in general, they're putting jobs out all the time, they see them all the time, and you're gonna want to dedicate a little bit of time to getting to know them, to just be in their database. People ask all the time, do they really, if I put my resume in GlowCap Searches database, will they really find me? That is the first place most of their recruiters will go to look for talent. Some of them that are really big are just fortunate to have huge, huge banks of resumes. So worthwhile to go ahead and submit yours. Questions about that? Okay.
You can just follow them without activation.
Some of them you can. Yep, some of them you can. Some of them you can actually follow their company pages, right? So some of the big recruiters, Robert Half will be here a little bit later tonight. Some of those big recruiters, you can actually follow their company pages and they'll be putting out the requisitions as they come up, putting out the job titles. So it's a way for you in your own newsfeed to see what's available and keep on point with it. This takes a lot of time. That's the thing we hear from job seekers over and over and over is, I don't have time to do this, and it is another job to look for a job. So these are some ways to just sort of streamline that process for you.
But what I'll say about that, sorry, let me add my nice happy bow, is that finding your next job, finding something you're passionate about and excited about, it should take time. It should be hard. It should, getting things handed to you is not, well, sometimes it's nice, but overall, as you're looking for these next steps, there are steps that you need to go through. There are paces that you have to put yourself through. But hopefully this helps you network, learn more before you apply to roles, really connect with this Haas network, who they want you in their companies. They want you in the roles that they have available. So reach out, connect, network, have fun.
So the last thing I'll leave you with is that a lot of people will, of course, link in with someone who they share a connection with. Meg Roundy actually has one of the biggest networks that I've ever seen. I would encourage you to link with her. I would invite you to link with me as well. I would absolutely love it, and I always am thrilled to connect with Haas alumni. Thank you guys very much for coming, and good luck on your job searches.
Thank you.